Silver holders, the price of silver is looking incredibly bullish. We've had multiple days of climbing higher and higher and higher off some recent kind of lows. And this is looking exciting. And in today's video, guys, we're going to be talking also about copper. We're going to be talking about the money supply, China, the US civil political war that is brewing right now. Some people are getting labeled terrorists. And also some other very important things, including at the end of the video, I'll reveal to you which metal AI and even myself think is one of the best, has the most bullish characteristics in terms of demand, supply, and lack of substitutes, guys. We're going to talk about that. We'll also do an update on the Iran conflict too. So if you guys enjoy it, just like the video to signal you're listening in. You're getting some value from these videos. It's my job to give you value and to give you some insight. And guys, let's get straight into it. So you can see right here, look, silver is looking really solid. So it looks like we've kind of turned a corner on this. There was a lot of FUD in the market with the Iran-US conflict that has been brewing now for months, and it still is unresolved. And we'll talk about that later. But you know what? Silver is looking good. It's going back up, and this is coming off the back end of also, look, lots of money printing happening in the USA, lots of inflation happening as well. The money supply is skyrocketing. Global money supply is now up to a record 129 trillion. Over the last 2 years, money supply has soared 17.1 trillion. And this also marks a $27 trillion increase, or 28% increase since 2022. So, well, look, one thing you have to understand with all these governments, they perpetually print out money. They perpetually go into debt. Their only plan is to just tax you through inflation and increase taxes. And if you're watching in from Australia, we had one of the worst set of tax rule changes just recently come in. And capital gains tax is now 30% across the board if that becomes a reality. Very, very bad. But one thing that is true is the money supply just keeps going up. And this is why, look, silver long-term, copper also long-term, and also the stock market is looking incredibly exciting as well. So there's a lot of good things just to keep on the radar as the money supply goes up. And if you have a look here, the copper price really starting to kind of go a bit. We'll talk more about copper later in the video, but there's some really good things happening, and gold is looking, you know, relatively solid as well. Now into China. So this week, some of the biggest news is Trump is in China right now. They're talking some big things: Iran, trade, AI, Taiwan, agriculture, and nuclear capabilities. And have no doubt at all, it might be a good meeting. These two are the number one rivals. So this is the showdown about who leads the world in the future, right? So is it going to be the US? The US has big problems that we're going to talk about right now, very, very fractured. China seems a lot more nationalistic. It seems a lot more unified currently than the US, which, you know, the left-right divide, and even the right-right divide is brewing, and it's getting more tumultuous. It's getting more volatile right here. But this is something that's happening, and we've actually seen some cool clips coming out of China as well. So this guy, Brett Baer, he's going into a shop and he's asking for a sausage. I mean, who orders just a sausage? But let's just play the clip. It's a little bit of comedy, but it's also China embracing AI and robots right here. Let's play this.
Inside, this is the first of its kind for this kind of interaction. If you want to order something, hello, can I get a sausage, please?
Okay, 烤肠, 8.8 yuan.
The robot does give him a sausage in the end, and also they've got like AI coffee as well, or robot coffee. So the robots are basically making the coffee over in China in some shops. But this is also giving us an insight, right? So remember, whoever gets all the minerals, right? All the minerals to build all this stuff, you know, this is where automation and massive productivity can actually happen in economies, right? So it might not be, obviously, you know, you're going to lose that human touch of humans serving you coffee, but there's a massive productivity gain that can happen. And it's just about building out the actual, you know, robotic infrastructure in the economy. That was interesting right now. And if you have a look right here, what else is interesting is, you know, in the US right now, Trump administration officials are actually labeling some people terrorists, and Ron Paul has something to say right here, but Tucker Carlson and actually Nick Fuentes have been labeled terrorists according to Trump's top counterterrorism official, which is, you know, highly volatile to say the absolute least. And let's just have a quick listen into what Ron Paul has to say before we talk a little bit more about that.
If there's ever any doubt, my rule to myself is, if there's any doubt of, is this something that you should be able to say or you shouldn't be able to say, always err on the side of letting them say it and not on the side of curtailing us, because what they say might be bad stuff. So, and I think the founders understood that pretty well.
So there you go. Ron Paul kind of leaning towards the side of freedom of speech. And that's one thing America does have some very good laws around. So if you're in America, you can say things without getting thrown in jail. It's not the same in Australia or the UK or Europe. You go straight to jail if you say the wrong words that hurt the wrong people's feelings and things like that. So that is just something to have on the radar. But this is obviously something brewing in the background. So you've got two people. And Tucker Carlson, I think he's got some pretty interesting takes on lots of things. And there is also another civil war brewing on the very right edge of politics between Dan Bilzerian and Nick Fuentes as well, which has been very interesting to kind of look into that as well. So some pretty volatile things. And this is just another fracture that's kind of happening in America. So again, you kind of compare it to China. China just not as, I don't think their politics are as spicy as the US, where the US, left versus right, even right versus right, not a unified country. And when there is no unity, it becomes easy pickings for countries on the outside. Now, having said that, let's talk now about the Iran conflict, and then I'll give you guys my take on some of the best metals to have long-term as well. So you can see right here, the Iranians, they're not backing down. This guy right here, Foreign Minister of Iran, says in a clear attempt to sow discord, Kuwait has unlawfully attacked an Iranian boat and detained 4 of our citizens in the Persian Gulf. This illegal act took place near island used by the US to attack Iran. We demand immediate release of our nationals and reserve the right to respond. And then we have other things about sowing division between, the Iranian people and also saying Israel right here. And look, the big picture for now is, the Strait of Hormuz is not really open. It's still a trickle. There is really not too many ships going through. It's down to about 20% of its normal levels. And the shipping through this region is still low, right? So we haven't fully, felt the impact of what's actually going to happen in the future, right? So there's a lot of ships that haven't really got out fully. And this map is a map of all the ships of the world. And just have a look how many ships there are. It's pretty crazy stuff, but there's a lot of ships transiting around the world right now. But we're still going to see the full impact of that. And guys, let's talk about the most long-term bullish characteristics, or bullish metals actually, to think about. Not financial advice, of course, but just have them on the radar for the long term. And I've actually plugged it into Grok. And I said to Grok, Grok, out of all the metals you can invest in for a long-term horizon, say 10 to 20 years, which one has the most bullish price characteristics in terms of demand, supply constraints, lack of substitutability? Rank them from most bullish to least. And coming out number 1 is actually going to be copper. So copper is in there. So you kind of need copper for a lot of things. It says right here from Grok, demand massive and broad based. It's needed for wiring, motors, transformers, and charging infrastructure, clean energy and electrification. Supply constraints as well, so this is something to have on the radar. Declining ore grades, down 40% since the 1990s. Rising capex, up 65% on brownfield projects. Very few major discoveries. And the average 15 to 17 year lead times from discovery to production. Chile and Peru dominate, adding geopolitical and permitting risks. Existing mines will deplete without rapid replacement. And there's quite a lot of lack of substitutability. So copper has the highest electrical conductivity of any non-precious metal. Aluminium is a partial substitute in some cables, but less efficient. And no viable large-scale alternatives exist for most applications. So I just want to say, look, when you look at the copper price, where is it right here? The copper price, it's starting to shoot up, obviously, but what I put into Grok is more of a long-term kind of, very, very long-term. We're talking 10 to 20 years right there. So, and I think the other thing to factor in with these precious metals, look, think about the money supply, right? Is this going to go up or is it going to go down? Will China need copper? Will the US need copper? Will the military industrial complex need copper? All these influential, groups and entities, I think there's going to be a real big demand for copper over the long term, and it's got a lack of substitutes, there's supply constraints. So it's looking very bullish, I would say, over the long term. So copper is something just to have on the radar. Do some research into if you want. And if we have a look at what else he's produced right here, it's got uranium as well. So remember, with AI data centers, people might also flip on the uranium question. I know some European crazy countries just went non-nuclear, but it's still plenty of good power can come out of uranium and nuclear, and it's the specific fuel for your nuclear reactors. And it's a tightening market, so watch out for uranium as well. Lithium as well. There is some degree of substitutability with lithium to just have on the radar, but that is also coming in at number 3. You've got your rare earths coming in as well. So these are very in high demand and tech specific. It's got very low substitutability. Permanent magnets have few viable alternatives without major performance cost and penalties. And there's something, the market is going crazy for at the moment, rare earths, and also silver as well. So you guys know we're big fans of silver right here on the channel, and there is demand for silver, got big industrial demand, and there's lots of supply constraints with silver, and also there is some degree of substitutability with silver. But what other thing I would say about silver is you got to think about the psychology aspect of silver as well. So silver and gold are quite similar. Like there's a lot of group psychology. People trust it, right? People trust silver over trusting fiat currency. I mean, why would you trust a politician? Why would you trust fiat currency these days? There is absolutely no reason to trust it. You know what politicians do. They print out money. They quite often break promises, and silver is looking very bullish. And you've also got nickel as well. To some degree, it's up there. You got cobalt as well. And it hasn't really put in gold, but it has also talked about gold here. So gold is more of a monetary inflation hedge with a steady supply. So that really means, look, there's a lot of group psychology behind gold. So, when there is a lot of belief around something and the group agrees that it is valuable, it's got a lot of psychological asset value, intellectual value behind it. That's the deal with gold, but I'd also say silver as well, and silver also has a lot of utility. But also just watch out for copper. So copper might be a real big dark horse to have on the radar in the future, especially as, look, China and the US. So if you think about it broadly, what's happening right here, these guys are going to be competing against each other, US versus China. There's just going to be it's like StarCraft or Warcraft, whatever you want to do it. It's just going to be a race for resources, right? Get all the copper, get all the minerals, get all the natural resources of the world. That's generally how these types of conflicts will play out. And then with those minerals, that's where you can build, the robots and crazy stuff like that, right? So, that's going to be the race, I think, of the future. So it's really about building like a robotic AI army, and you're going to need the minerals and you're going to need the resources to do it. And whoever does it on scale and does it faster and better than the other one is going to be the winner. And so crazy times ahead, but that's generally what's up for grabs currently, because at some stage the robots might replace the humans, but watch out for that. And that is today's update, guys. So things are looking bullish, long-term bullish, and if you want the next update, subscribe to the channel and we'll deliver it, and I'll get you guys another update. But guys, appreciate you tuning in. Go have a great rest of today, and I will see you in the next one.